appreciate you getting up with today's Best Country Clear 99 this morning, and something a little different that we're going to do this morning. We don't like to do, but sometimes we have to do it. We have to get a little serious. Aric is with us this morning. Good morning, Aric.
Buddy, it's great to be with you.
Good to be with you. As many of you know, Eric's been gone for a week or so because of a terrible tragedy in his family. And one of the things that we always try to figure out here at the radio station is how do you transition from something like that and into what we do for a living, because what we do for a living is kind of lighthearted and all of this, but it's something that cannot be ignored and we have to talk about. And it kind of our theory over the years is just we've just got to jump in and talk about it and do it. There's no easy way to get into it. There's no easy way to get out of it, but we've got to do it nonetheless. And so Aric was kind of hoping that maybe we could just kind of sit down and do that a little bit this morning. So first of all, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Thank you. And I mean, just like you said, it doesn't make, for you and me, being part of this Clear Country family for over 20 years, it's inauthentic if we don't talk about it, because we've talked about everything that you and I have been through over the years, whether that's marriage, divorce, kids, and struggles that we've had. And so you have to talk about it. I do want to thank our good friend Liz here, because she just stopped down and had the idea to pray for the three of us before we get into this, because it'd be what people always say, are you ever nervous to be on the radio? I've never been nervous to be on the radio in my life until probably right now. And that's because last week we lost the most beautiful girl, Hallie Phillips, 20 years old, Mizzou student. It was my bonus daughter, myself, my wife Angie, her dad Lance Phillips, and her bonus mom Michelle Lawson were devastated. Her siblings were all devastated, and it was just a tragedy. It was an unexpected tragedy that should never ever happen. And so I do want to thank first. We want to thank as a family the first responders, because she was gone for a long time. And they brought her back so that we could spend 48 hours with her. Because if we didn't have that time with her as a family, I don't know how we would have made it through all this. And our trauma nurses at Mizzou, Hallie and Bailey, they cared for her so much. They cried with us as we in those final hours. Also, really hard when your daughter's name is Hallie and her nurses are Hallie and Bailey, to keep everybody correct for a couple of days, right?
Right.
Just so amazing. And so I think one of the things that we'll talk about, the theme that you'll see is Hallie had a huge passion, love for horses. And as we want to honor her in her life, that'll be something that we do. And so we were talking last night, her bonus mom, Michelle, was telling me the story about how at the lake in the summer, they like to cook breakfast outside on the griddle. And her and Lance were talking about how Hallie was telling about a horse that she loved. This was a couple years ago. And they said, can you just grab us an egg real quick? So she was in the middle of thought, ran in, and came out with a paper towel. And they looked, they're like, what do you... Well, she's so passionate about the horses, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the theme they're going to see. And so then that kind of started when she was 12. Her and her dad, they brought a steer out, and they didn't know what they were doing, but they figured it out. She showed a steer at the Cole County Fair. It sold for some of the highest money at that fair because Hallie loved animals. And then that transitioned into the horses. And like 12, 13 years old, she got her first horse. And Angie and Lance didn't know what that was about. So she bought and sold several horses over the years. And that's why she was in the animal sciences program at Mizzou, because she loved it. I mean, Andrew was telling me at like 12 years old, she was around this couple that had a horse in their backyard, and she helped them realize the horse needed to be put down. Like people say you have like a soul for animals, like you have like a pure soul. And that was Hallie, right? She had a sense. Like she knew, just last year, she saved her dog Piper, had a tumor. She knew something was wrong, and she was able to do that. I mean, she was that kid that continuously was able to do those things. And so not only did she love animals, but she had a passionate, fiery, real, as I said, Ange, what do you want people to know? And authenticity kept coming up. And every time we talked to people, Hallie was so authentic. Whether that was good or bad on the day, It was authentic. Like you knew where you were with Hallie. And that was, and what we're realizing now is people are reaching out. And I should also say thank you to all of our family and friends and Clear Country, because we're all being overwhelmed with love and support that you don't know. I heard you talk this weekend about people know how to bring food and And they do, but they're also showing their love in other ways. And we couldn't be more thankful and more grateful for that. And so, Hallie's passion for animals, we're learning, carried over to people. And she got a couple texts last night, one from her work. She worked at IDEX Labs just down the road here, and her boss texted about how she was a spark. She was always a spark in the office. Megan Rowe, she worked at D-Rose, was talking about her contagious smile. We've had students at Mizzou reach out that they loved being in class with her because she would smile and let them know that they had a friend when sometimes they weren't in a good place. And that we, if we're being just real and authentic, we didn't know some of those stories, right? Yeah. And then you feel like you're learning something about a daughter that you didn't even know. And so super proud of her. I wish we could tell her. And so I guess if there was a message, if you're listening this morning for your own kids, tell them you're proud of them. Let them know when they're doing something right, when they're doing the good things. Ask them the questions about what's going on in their life. It's super important. Talk about how fierce Hallie was. Talk about our relationship. It didn't start off great because if you...
Can I just say real quick? Aric using the word fierce and the grin on his face is just funny. It's one of those times I wish we had a camera in here because you know something good's coming. But I just wanted to... You're trying to think of the nice way to say it, and it's very fun.
As Hallie and I had developed our relationship, she's really been messing with me over the last week, and Angie's like, that was your relationship. I mean, it was. And it didn't... I mean, she has that get stuff done attitude, right? Mm-hmm. Which she comes by, honestly, from her mother. I mean, she is get it done. And when I first met Hallie, once you're trying to connect with kids, I've never been a bonus dad, right? But when Angie and I decided we were going to blend families, it was we're going to treat all these kids the same as if they're our own. And her mom, Alice, always says, like, one of the great things, if you get to know our family, is you would never know that Angie's kids aren't mine and that my kids aren't Angie's. Like that, just we've had that love. But with Hallie, it started hard because she was almost 18 when I met, right? And so I'm driving her to the St. Louis airport one night to meet her mom, and she was on the phone struggling with math as a senior. Well, I was good in math, so I thought, okay, this will be a way that I can connect, right? They get off the phone, and I'm like, well, I'd like to maybe help you out. And the response, I goes, I already have a dad. I don't need another one. And it was like, okay. She taught me in that moment that this was going to be a learning experience for me on how to be in her life and to be a bonus parent. And then we figured that balance out. And I really am grateful. A couple weeks ago when I had surgery, she came in a couple mornings and she took care of me for a couple hours. And it was super great time. I look back on that I got to spend with her doing that. And so something that happened in the hospital as we were trying to make final plans, we knew Hallie was going to leave us to be with the Lord, was that she was an organ donor. And that only happened because she had her purse and her identity stolen a few months back. So,
that's funny.
And so she signed up to do that. And so
she had to get a new license.
A new license. Yeah. She's 20 years old. So she signs up and they come in. Like, we're getting ready to start the process of saying goodbye. And they're like, oh, hold on. Time out. Like Hallie's an organ donor. And we all laughed. I mean, because, she has her own mind. She was even in those moments, she was going to make sure it went her way.
Right.
And the beauty in that is that so far, she's given 4 life-saving gifts to people. She's given a young man in Kansas City, 17 years old, 3 new fingers. And the gifts continue to come. And in that, this message kept being sent to us. And there's no coincidences, right? The Lord does what the Lord does. And it started last week with Isaiah 66, verse 9. I will not cause pain without allowing something new to be born, says the Lord. And it just felt like with the gifts that are saving lives, that's part of it. And then we got a card in the mail yesterday from one of her classes at Mizzou, signed by a bunch of students. And in the middle, one of the students used that same verse. And you're just like, you talk about the chills and the goose to get that verse again. Yeah. And we didn't know this, but if you ever have been a part of somebody that's donated their organs, they do an honor walk through the hospital. And so her final moments were the hospital staff and all of her closest family and friends lined down a hall as she was wheeled towards the OR. Super powerful. It's been a reminder this week that tragedy does cause beautiful things. It brings people together. It's made us all think about stupid, petty family fights that don't matter. Right. Hugging our kids tighter. It's an unbelievably awful situation that never, ever should have happened. And we are fiercely going to honor Hallie and make her light shine brighter than ever. My wife keeps saying over and over again, I will do everything possible to make her light shine. And so some things that we've done, she loved Mizzou. We've talked about that. She loved being at Mizzou. And so we're setting up the Hallie Phillips Memorial Scholarship Fund, and every year we'll give back scholarships to students that are going into the animal sciences program at Mizzou. Got a great message from the dean of the Kaffner program over there, just how much they loved having Hallie. And then we've got a first ever, she was a barrel racer. So we talk about the horses, right?
Cool
she was a bad, I can't say it on the radio, but she could ride a horse, and she was a barrel racer. And so we've got her first ever, it's a sanctioned race. Barrel race, April 15th, which is on her dad's birthday. So it's going to be super cool down in Russellville. And so we're excited about that. And we'll be raising money with that. That'll go to the scholarship fund. So super excited. I could talk for 25 minutes about life and love and everything, and probably haven't said enough about how much her twin siblings, Chase and Summer, love and miss their sister, and my kids, Lexi and Carter and Dane, love and miss their sister, because our crew was super special. And Hallie was the leader of that crew, right? And so the kids are like the rest of us, the adults. Everybody's broken right now. And so I keep thinking about how blessed we are, especially for our family to go to the crossing here in Columbia. They've just reached out so much in so many ways, and it's a reminder that there's hope, that we'll see Hallie again someday with Jesus in heaven. And so if you don't know where you're at in your faith and you've lost somebody, the only hope we have, and she's sent us plenty of signs this week that she's with the Lord. Mm-hmm. I can rest comfortably. Our family can rest comfortably that she's with the Lord. And that's where we're setting our eyes as a family. So people say, what can we do? Well, we pray for us that we find peace. That's a word that we keep using in our home, is peace. That Hallie is with the Lord, and that someday we'll know that we can be with her again there too. And that's really where we're at. And so I love you all. Appreciate everything everybody's doing. Our lives will never be the same without this beautiful, beautiful girl. And that's been our week. The worst week of all of our lives with me, Angie, Lance, Michelle, our kids. The worst week imaginable. And we're determined to bring beauty and light out of this tragedy, knowing this is going to take a long time, right? So hurt for a long, long time.
And I think, too, one thing that people can do, and I thought about this on Saturday, obviously praying for you guys, and I've seen your wife posting stuff about peace and praying for peace and that sort of thing, too. But I think it's a good opportunity. I feel very good. I happen to know a little bit about your support system, a little bit, and how much you're going to need that. Number one, just within your family, the way you guys support each other. But I know you're in a great small group, and I know you've got folks like that. And I think maybe at a time like this, you can pray for those folks too. Not pray for your family, but the people around your family to know the right things to do and say, because there's no roadmap. We don't know. It's kind of like what we're doing here. You try to make it happen and do the best you can, but maybe those prayers might be.
Yeah, our friend Lynn said something to the kids the other night, so they all felt that grief for everyone it's like a fingerprint. It's different for everybody. And so if one of our kids wants to go back to school earlier than the next one, that's okay. If one of our kids wants to get back to an activity, or that's okay. If one of us is healing and grieving either way, it's okay, because there's no roadmap. And I know there's women that have reached out to my wife already as mothers that have lost. I mean, that's the most unbearable pain, right? To see that for Angie and to know that I don't know how to handle that, right? I said to you this week, I was texting you and our guys that we're close, that our men's group. My dad didn't give me this roadmap on how to lead a family through this. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so we're all just we're making it up as we go and doing our best. And just love our support system. And I know I'm not just speaking for me and Angie, but Lance and Michelle too. Everybody's been so great. So,
yeah. Okay.
Can you say something funny?
And I was going to say the one thing we do know: you don't need any more food.
We do not. No, please
do not
no.
need more food.
No.
Yeah.
And
that's what I said on Saturday. Is that if there's one thing those of us in small town America have been trained to do, it's show up with food.
Yeah.
When there's a problem with another.
You guys
family
have it figured out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You need another house if there's going to be more food.
Well, I tell you what we did. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Here's what we did Saturday night. After you said that on the radio, we were listening. Angie's dad had a good idea. So we did this. And this is a great time. Anybody can do this. We were so grateful for the first responders giving us those 2 days.
Yeah. We
had some meals we knew were going to go bad if we didn't eat. So we took them to the fire station down the road.
Let's go. Yeah.
And just said thank you. And I think that's something anybody can do, right? You can go donate some food to first responders this holiday season.
And I think maybe to kind of wrap this up, and again, guys, the reason we do this is because we don't know what else to do. We know we've got to talk about it, and it's odd and it's awkward. I was joking with Aric. I said a few things on Saturday morning about it, and I did everything I could to make sure, because when we're on the radio, we get done talking with this, what's going to happen here in just a couple of minutes? We're going to play commercials, because that's what we do. There's no easy way to get from what we have done into commercials. But, I was, thinking ahead, I thought. And so I wanted to make sure that there were not any of those commercials that, like Aric does, that we're going to play right after that. And I missed one. So right after this heartfelt thing about, pray for their family, and then, Eric's talking garage doors or something, like 2 minutes later, and I was like, I sent him a text. I'm like, I thought I moved that. I'm really, really sorry.
I just hope everybody got their 5-star service plan afterwards.
Exactly, so. Yeah. I think, it was pest control is what it was. But the other thing is that, and maybe we can kind of use this to wrap up a little bit, is, obviously people want to do something, pray for the family and all of that, but it hit me too, because this is something Mom and I have talked about way back when my dad passed away. There is an outpouring and an overwhelming amount of support and people want to know what's going on in ways to help. As time goes on, that dissipates a little bit.
That is the scary part,
and it's nobody's fault. It's life. So you can remember that with Aric and his family. But I thought the other thing is, maybe there's somebody in your life who's had a tragedy in the last 6 months or 8 months or a year or 2 years or something, and it's been a while since you've reached out to them. Maybe just in honor of Hallie, you can reach out to them and just see how they're doing. Maybe see if they want to get a cup of coffee here.
I love that.
Or something like that. So, all right. And you are back on the radio this afternoon.
Gonna try.
I'm assuming.
Gonna give it a shot.
All right. That is Aric. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
Love you guys. Thank you.